Hi,
Can
good
everyone hear me?
morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Oh wow, welcome, welcome, welcome. So I dropped the link. I created the link. I don't know, maybe everybody was having problems with the link. So it's on the Slack channel, and I hope everybody will be coming in. But now we're starting off. And today we have the wonderful Jeni Yelton on board. Somebody once said that the workspace is a boiling pot of characters, of attitude, of personalities, and cultural values. And in today's workplace, team engagement stands as the heartbeat that sustains the vitality of, any organization. And it is the force that transforms an ordinary group of people into a high performing team and helps them achieve remarkable results. So team engagement transcends, just mere collaboration. It gives a sense of shared community, and it gives a sense of belonging, which empowers individuals to unlock their full potential. So we have Jeni here. Jeni Yelton is a learning and development consultant, a leadership coach, and a HR professional with over 20 years of experience. And I have been talking to Jeni for the past couple of minutes. I know that we have golden nuggets that we're going to take from this that would improve your internship experience. So while this is also being recorded, I want you to take as much as you can, ask as much questions as you can. This is going to be very insightful. There are a lot of exercises as well. So yeah, I'm happy to be impacted myself. So Jeni, welcome. Everybody please put like an emoji on your screen, a smile on your screen to welcome Jeni to the stage.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I want to start with saying, first, I really enjoyed the conversation with Anita to hear a little bit more about Wentors. And I'm really honored. I mean, truly honored to speak with you guys today. I did some research and I was really impressed by the mentorship and the support and the resources of Wentors as an organization. So I have to admit, I'm older than I look. At least that's what I tell myself every day. I was born and grew up before there were personal computers. In fact, I bet I have children older than you guys in this room. So I am old. And I will tell you that being this old means I've seen a lot of changes over the last several years, especially in technology, because when I was growing up, I had one of those computers at home. I mean, when we're talking growing up, I was in high school, but it was this big, and basically you had to push MS-DOS directory, like everything really fast to get it to open what you needed. And we played like Pong. Yes, Pong. I know it's fun now, but it wasn't then. And when we talked about personal computers, jobs and technology were just extensions of mathematics. So people that were in technology were mathematicians to begin with. And I've been really aware, especially being in HR, of the transition and the landscape and the faces of technology changing significantly over the last couple of years. As I was sharing with Anita, one of the clients that I'm working with right now is an insurance tech company. So they're in insurance, but they're really focused on the technology side of insurance. And I am just overwhelmed by the number of strong, capable women that are in leadership roles and project managers and big parts of this big organization. It's really, really interesting. In saying that, I also believe there is still room and opportunities for growth, to become more diverse, to become more inclusive. And that's where organizations like Wentors and really you collaborating and mentoring with each other and mentoring others can really make some strides. So Anita, you gave me a great introduction about kind of my history of who I am. How many of you, just type in chat, yes, because that's what I can see. Type in chat, how many of you have an elevator speech? If somebody gets introduced to you the first time and they say, what do? You have a speech. Type in chat, yes. You don't have to type out your whole elevator speech. Just type in chat. Yes, good. Oh, a couple no's. All right. All right. So what an elevator speech is it really kind of is what you form to who you are. So when somebody says to me, "Hey, Jeni, what do you do?" I say to them, "I am an adult learning theorist that's passionate about helping and inspiring adults to live fulfilling lives through their career journey. I do this through exposure to knowledge, engagement and understanding, coaching conversations, and building relationships at work. That's what I do." So I will tell you, as Anita kind of mentioned at the beginning, relationships are really the key to team building. Otherwise, if you don't have those relationships, you don't have those connections, it's just a lot of people working together. So what can we do to make the teams we work with more engaging, more successful, more strong? So today, in our time together, we're going to talk through some techniques and tactics to increase your team's engagement, to increase your engagement with your team, so that we can pave the way to having that outstanding success for your team, yourself, and your passion, the things that you want to be a part of. All right, so that's my introduction. But to even start with this and understand team engagement, we have to start with individuals. Team is made up of individual employees, so we have to start there. All right, so what is employee engagement? You can see 5 answers on here. Put in the chat which one you think actually represents employee engagement. Just guess which one you think it is. Maybe a 1, 3, okay. 4, 2, 5. All right. Anita, Sylvia, yeah. All right. I'm going to tell you, if you guess 3, you're right. Employee engagement is the strength of mental and emotional connection employees feel towards the work they do, the teams they work with, and their organization. Now, interestingly, none of these other things are wrong, but employee engagement is often confused and sometimes interchangeable with those similar concepts like happiness, satisfaction, well-being. But there are some clear differences in these concepts that's kind of important to understand. First is happiness. How many of you want to be happy at work? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Want to be happy at work? Of course you do. We want to be happy at work. You spend a lot of time at work, most of your waking hours. So of course you want to be happy. But happiness is not the same as engagement because it really says nothing about how you're invested in a company or how hard you are working at the organization's missions and goals. I'm sure that all of you are aware happiness is short term and it is a rapidly changing measurement. For example, have you ever felt really excited about a raise or a promotion, but then about 6 months later, it's all worn off? You're no longer excited anymore. Now you're spending more money than you were before. You have more work to do, right? You were happy at the moment, but it changes. What makes somebody happy changes. Employee engagement is more long term, it's a connection to the organization. Now, employee satisfaction actually can only be measured at a surface level. A satisfied employee could be engaged, but they may just take steps to do nothing more than just show up. In other words, they feel fulfilled right in their current role. They come in, they're content, and content can be a wonderful thing. But they're not really looking for opportunities to be a part of something more. They're focused internally on themselves. Now, well-being is evaluated in lots of ways in people's lives, how they cope with stress, if they're feeling fulfilled, and providing resources towards well-being can make people feel more engaged. But when employee engagement is focused on that connection to the organization, connection to their team, connection to what they're doing, not just how they feel within their self. Now, why do I mention all of this? Well, employee engagement is important to organizations because it really talks about the health of an organization. And the more engaged you are within work, the more likely you're to contribute, to be a part of something, to deal with times of struggle and strife, to deal with moments of imposter syndrome or not feeling like you're doing the right thing or doing enough. If you are engaged, you feel like you're part of something bigger than just the job itself. You know, being in HR for a long time, and I mean a long time in HR, I've always had a theory about employees and people. One is a job is a job is a job is a job. It's a task. You're either taking information in or putting information out. You're either building something or unbuilding something or making something better. It's a job. It's a task. It's something that you can learn to do. What keeps people engaged, coming in every day, wanting to work with other people, happy in that sense, part of something is the relationships that they build within that organization. It's not about the money. And don't tell everybody I said that, because sometimes when they say that, they're like, oh, good, you can make less money. No, no, no. I still have shoes to buy. It's not about the money, but it is about who you are, how you feel. If you feel important, you feel a part of something, you can see your line of sight. It's the culture and the engagement that makes a huge difference in how you belong to an organization. Now, to really talk about team engagement, you have to think about what your role is in it, because it's not just the employees. You can have a super engaged individual employee, but engagement is a holistic way of looking at it. Every person in your organization and in your team is focused on those qualities of those relationships, their approach to teamwork, their attitudes they bring in. So here's some thoughts about some of the different roles. One, leadership. And when I'm talking about leadership and engagement, I'm talking about the higher ups, the leaders who are making the decisions of where the mission is for the company, the values, the goals, the leadership that's up there. They really do set the tone. They create a vision. They communicate changes. They update us on progress. They really make us feel like we're part of something. We could see a line of sight, especially in technology. Right now I'm designing some e-learning pieces, and I'm looking at all of these little things that I'm putting together, but I want to see an impact beyond it. Where is this going to be used? How is it going to help somebody? Where is it part of the bigger vision for where it's going for? Managers. So I know that a number of you are in internships, and I assume that at some point you want to be a manager. Is there any managers in the group? Make sure you put it in chat. Is there anybody who's in a manager role in the group? And I even mean project managers or product managers, especially in technology. All right. I don't see any yeses. I have a question. So why do you think that managers, project managers, team managers, product managers, system managers are important to team engagement? What do you guys think? Why is it important? And you can speak out too if you don't want to type it in chat. I'm fine. Oh, do you guys don't see how they're important? Okay. All right. Well, guess who you're going to interact with more than anybody else? Your teammates and your manager. So they have to create those environments. They have to motivate. Thank you, Sylvia. They have to keep everybody engaged. They have to keep those manageable time frames. Absolutely. They also have to recognize success. They have to provide feedback. They have to look for areas of development and growth and create environments for collaboration. And they should know their employees. So in the future, if you're looking at doing something in a leadership role and a manager role, it's important for you to really know what motivates your employees, because everybody is motivated a little bit differently. So to keep people engaged, to make them feel part of something, you have to figure out what keeps them there, what makes them feel good. All right, your role. Are you ready? What do you have to do in employee engagement? You are the voices. You are in the day-to-day. You have to be loud and provide honest feedback, candid, what's working, what isn't, willing to communicate, have that confidence to share your ideas. Focus on your own performance and development. Help support other people and motivate other people on your team. You don't have to be a leader in an organization to help influence and create a culture of engagement in your team. Just by participating, reacting, interacting with others, that's how you as an individual can create that engagement. Now, doesn't that sound easy? Isn't that easy? Woo! There it is. That's all you have to do. Ask people to talk to you, get them engaged, motivate them, give them candid feedback. Sounds pretty simple. So, all of that is true. Why is there a lack of team engagement, especially for women? Because I think it's important to acknowledge that. All right. Have you ever heard of the term Mokita? You may have. Okay. It's from Papua New Guinea. And the Mokita means the truth that everybody knows, but nobody talks about. Otherwise, it's like the elephant in the room. So there are some things out there. And Mokitas is that idea of everybody knows it, it's all there, but nobody says anything. So I want to think about this when it comes to working on a team. Where have you had issues? And you can go back to college, even if you want to think about it, maybe not in your work life, but being a part of a team. Where have you had issues before? Let's get some of these things said. Let's put the mojitos out there. Where have you had issues before? I'll give you a couple of my examples as you guys are typing some in chat. I feel like I'm the one doing all the work sometimes on a team. Like I'm the only one accountable for the work. Sometimes I maybe not feel included in conversations. Okay. What else? What else are some issues you've had working on a team before? Clicks? Yeah. Groups of people being excluded. Okay. Oh, somebody maybe not listening to you or taking instructions from you, maybe because of your age or your gender. Yeah, absolutely. What else? Slugness. Vacationers? Yes. Loafers on the team? Absolutely. Uh, you may not have figured this out, but I'm gonna tell you, I'm an extrovert, like a very high extrovert. So it's harder for me not to speak. So I'm kind of the guilty one. You guys don't have this in there. If somebody's always talking, never getting a chance to talk, that's part of being a struggle on a team. Okay. So let me ask you, this is supposed to be a positive, exciting class on team engagement. You're probably thinking to yourself, well, why are we talking about our struggles and issues in team engagement? Here's why. One of the core things about the idea of Mokita is that the health of an organization is when there are no mojitos, when things are spoken, when things are out there. So you have to encourage sharing these struggles, being honest with each other about what is actually going on, because it's only achieved success is only achieved and fixing things is only achieved by recognizing what is wrong. I mean, think about it in even a medical term. You cannot find a cure without knowing the symptoms or the cause. So that's why it's important to have these conversations, to think about where the struggles are. So things like cliques, inclusiveness, not being listened to, discounted because of your gender, discounted because of your age, discounted because of your race, any of those things where you just feel like being a part of a team is not beneficial to you. So one of the things that we have to think about is why. Why does that occur? And how can we address those things? So that's what we're going to focus on. So let's start with struggles and challenges in team engagement. All of those things we said can lead to two different things. One is some real confrontation, like, teams that argue and teams that fight. Raise your hand if you've ever had that experience. Just raise your hand if you have people on the team. And sometimes it's that they don't maybe fight with each other in front of each other, but you know that they're fighting because the energy is just super negative anytime you guys are together as a collective team. Oh, yep, I got my hand raised. But here's what's interesting. Most teams are pretty passive. They don't show it that way. They show it in little other ways by having little cliques of people or exclusion, like not including this person to go to lunch, or maybe not telling this person thing, withholding some information, loss of opportunities, lack of engagement and interaction with others. So what causes that? What causes that lack of engagement? Well, the first one is lack of communication. Now, people say lack of communication all the time. And it's funny. Sometimes somebody will say, "Hey, Jeni, can you teach a class on communication?" And I say, "What part of communication? Pick one thing." Because the reality is there's college degrees on communication. You got to pick one thing. Is it active listening? Is it writing skills? Is it relationship building and communication? Is it empathy? Anita and I had a really good discussion about empathy right before you guys joined. Is that what you're talking about in communication? Because when we say communication, it can mean so many things. Now, communication is the lifeline that connects people. It's what actually separates us. It's what creates cultures. It's what creates tribes of people, communities, groups, friendships, work teams. Communication is key. It's the lifeline. And it really gives you an opportunity to see and understand different perspectives. We all have friends or family that we love and enjoy and have good relationships with us that are different than us. So it's not always about somebody being alike. Sometimes that communication brings out a connection because you do understand them. Now, I can't see your hands, so I'm going to assume some answers here. But when I'm thinking about communication, I'm going to assume that there's going to be some hands raised. So raise your hand if you've ever not shared your idea in a meeting. You've been in a meeting, somebody's asked a question, you had a great solution, you knew what you wanted to say, and you did not share it. I'm seeing a couple hands raised. Okay. All right. Why? If you feel open to sharing it, why? Type it in chat. I'll tell you my why. Maybe I felt like I didn't belong. Maybe I felt like this is going to not come out right. I will tell you, as a woman that is not from technology, works around a lot of people in technology, I've had those moments of self-doubt and self-efficacy and imposter syndrome, like, what are they talking about? I have no idea. And I'm afraid if I ask a question, they're going to think that I'm not very smart. And I'm pretty smart. So why am I going to say anything? All right. All right. I can't see your hands, but I'm going to ask the next one. Raise your hand if you've tried to share an idea often and you were talked over.
And say yes. You
You were talked over. In other words, oh, just like just happened there. Oh, interesting. So you're talking and somebody talks over you. I see some hands on that one. It happens all the time. And here's why people do it. I truly believe, first of all, I have to tell you something about me personally. And maybe this makes me an optimist, but I do believe that most people have good intentions. I really, really don't think that I'm that important, that somebody is waking up every day trying to figure out a way to make my life miserable. Maybe my kids, but anybody else, I do not think that's what they're doing. So if their intentions are good, people talk over you. Why are they doing it? Is it because they don't respect you? Is it because they don't want to hear you? No, it's because they're not listening and they're thinking about what to say as a response, or they're finishing your sentences. And it happens a lot. And it does happen more to women than it does to men. In fact, last night I was explaining what I was putting together for training with I told Anita I wouldn't call him this, boyfriend. And as I was talking about something that was my Grammarly, I was explaining something very simple, like, oh, it's showing little red ziggly lines. And the reason it was showing those lines was because it was talking about, it was in British English and not American English. So things like behavior with an S instead of a Z or V, and organizations with no Z. And so it was telling me it was spelled incorrectly because it was using the English dictionary. But before I could get any of that out, he said, "Oh, you mean you forgot all your punctuation?" It's like, no, wait, and I'm an extrovert. I talk all the time, and he talk, and I'm, older than him, so he should respect me, right? No, talked right over me. It happens all the time. All right, this is the worst one. And I want to see some, I know there's some hands out there. Raise your hand if you've ever shared your idea and it was dismissed. Like even maybe, oh, that's a good idea. Maybe they didn't actually do this, but they just said, oh, okay, we'll consider that. And then somebody else shares that exact same idea later. And it was, oh, that was brilliant. That was such a great idea. And they get credit for it. All right. Now, that's where lack of communication comes in place, where lack of communication causes a problem. Because without effective communication, we don't know what people are thinking. We don't know. So from those scenarios, there's two things, because I have some solutions in mind. There's two things you can do. First time or the next time that you find yourself in a conversation, stop and really listen to the other person's perspective. So one, get to know what they're really saying. Listen, so that you're not the person talking over them or interrupting them or stealing their idea. And if you see that happening to somebody else, remember when I said a few minutes ago about you don't have to be in power to have influence? In some situations, you have more influence. If you've been on the team longer, if the manager respects you more, if you've got more people in the group, then this is an opportunity for you to be an advocate and an ally for your fellow women. If you see this happen, be an influence. Take a little power in the situation. Stop that lack of communication by stopping and saying, you know what, I don't think that Cheryl had an opportunity to share her idea. Now, you may want to let Cheryl know you're doing that, because sometimes people don't like being put on the spot. Maybe you pull her aside after and say, hey, I know you really had a good idea. Maybe we should follow up in an email and say, I really thought Cheryl's idea about this. Help create that ownership. That's one of the things as mentorship that you can really do, especially if you have influence in other ways. If you have confidence and you see somebody else is struggling, reach out, connect with them, be aware. Here's what's important to know. I'm telling you all this because it's a benefit for you to think about how you communicate, how you see communicate, and how you can help other people communicate. But I have a little secret for you. It's an expectation of us as women. Now, we can talk about, science and how shifts have changed and everything else, but I will tell you that even if science is wrong, and it's all theories, there's still a bias that women are better communicators. There is still a bias out there that we are better at sharing information, engaging with others, creating conversation. That bias is there, which is great, right? There's an expectation. It also means that we're also looked at differently because of it. Men may be able to speak up and they're said, oh, I'm so glad that Jim spoke up. But we sometimes do it and it's said, oh, I wonder why they spoke up. Because there's this bias that we're supposed to do things a certain way. So I'm telling you this because you're going to be expected to do it, then do it. If you're going to be expected, speak up because people are wanting you to. And the more we do it, the more that bias is something beneficial instead of judging something negative. Now, the next one on this list is lack of trust. Now, I have in here to ask the group, but I notice it's an open chat, so I'm not going to do that. Have you ever not trusted somebody on your team? You can just nod your head to yourself. Yeah, I get it. Even back in college or high school or on your job or your past job, there's somebody on your team you just didn't trust. Now, I don't know if you've read this book, but it's definitely a book worth reading. And I've taught classes on it for years. It's called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And the way that this book is lined up is that for teams to be successful, they have to start with trust. Trust creates an ability to have real engaging conflict. Conflict is a positive thing, challenging each other, having expectations so you don't get into groupthink. That leads to a commitment to a bigger group, and then accountability for your own work, and then the goal of results. So you can see how those 5 things lead together. But the bottom one on there is trust. And an absence of trust is when team members are not allowed to be vulnerable with each other. They're not willing to admit that they've made a mistake or that they don't have the answers or that they don't know the best solution. And a team without trust, really, it isn't trust. It's just a group of individuals working together, making progress. Sometimes not even good progress. They may share information, but they battle over the rights and responsibilities. They may look like they're cooperating together, but they don't step out of what you tell them to do, what's expected. So there's not a real cooperation. And it doesn't matter how capable the team members are. I know we talked about some of the struggles with our teammates of maybe some loafing or not participating or not being accountable. The reality is, again, most people have good intentions. They're not that way because they lack the skills and ability. They're choosing to be that way because they're not engaged in the team. So, according to research, this is the good news. I've got good news about it. According to research, this is when we as women can really take an advantage in trust because we are good at building relationships on trust and by being vulnerable, especially with each other, and allowing vulnerability. So creating a trusting space for each other, especially with other women. And I'm sure you have that. I'm sure you have a circle of friends, a group of girls that you engage with. Maybe it's a sibling or a sister or cousins. Maybe it's your best friends from college. Maybe it's a group of people at work where you admit and you're vulnerable and you feel safe in being so because that trust is there. So extending that trust into the workplace means allowing for people to be vulnerable without judgment, allowing that conversation. So Here's why this is interesting, and it really is been done as studies. So Dr. Seelan Kesberg was a researcher that is really focused on cooperation, competition, gender equality, cultural transmission. She's from the School of London, and she really studied as organizational behavior. She does a lot of courses, and one of them that she teaches is executive leadership and negotiation. Now, together with her fifth year PhD student, Judy Koo, they wrote a report called Gender Differences and the Interpersonal Trust, Disclosure Behavior, Benevolent Sensitivity, and Workplace Implications. So I know it's a really long article. I'll send Anita the link so you can actually pull it up. I don't know, you probably read a lot of these types of articles over your schooling and other things. Real long, has a lot of data in it. So I'm going to simplify it down to a couple things. They propose that women are more likely to use self-disclosure as a tool for building trust. Women are more likely to allow for vulnerability, allow to sharing weakness, allow to share where they don't know something, the mistakes that they made. And as a result, women tend to rate kindness and traits of sensitivity much higher. And because of that, they create these better relationships. So when we think about it, it's about those cultural differences. And we talk about the motivation for how we interact and how we engage with other people. It's important to realize that you can create that within your own groups. So thinking about where trust can come into place, one of the ways that we can do it is by creating a place of vulnerability. And that means allowing people to share with you their struggles, sharing your own struggles. So it's extending communication to the point where people feel psychologically safe in your presence. That's how you build engagement in the teams. And because it creates magic, that competition piece is important, because the problem is that we feel very competitive when we don't see people working together. In other words, when there's competition, people will hoard resources, information, deny supporting each other, and they don't see if that there's a way to have a problem. Now, when we talk about taking it from competition to collaboration, it doesn't mean you remove yourself and become one with the team. It means understanding the individual strengths. So you can pull it together, those strengths, towards a common vision and a common goal. I think Anita mentioned this in an opening. The last one, though, is where there's magic, and it's creating a community. It's that next level. And networking like this is actually more of a coalition of women, a community of sport. In your mind, right now, I want you to think of one person, and you don't have to share this in chat, okay? One person that you really don't know very well. Maybe you don't work on the same team. Maybe you've seen them in passing, but you've noticed that they maybe don't get as much engaged with other people. They're not part of your group or your team, but there's this one person. Maybe it's somebody that you've had an interaction with that you didn't like. I'm going to share with you a story. I worked at an insurance company, and my first day being interviewed, I sat down and someone interviewed me, and her name was Pam. And she said to me, you know, what you do really isn't training. I mean, I teach training. You just teach a lot of fluff. You're talking about how people feel and all those things. And I just don't think it's really what training is. That was my first interaction. Now, I could have just walked away. We're not realistically, yeah, we're part of one big giant team, but we didn't work together day to day. I said, no, I'm going to get to know this person. So I purposely engaged with them. Did I have to? No, we weren't working on the same projects. We were part of one big team and a community, but I didn't need to. I chose to. and I made opportunities to create some influence, engagement. She has shifted within her career. I promoted her. Like when opportunities did come up, I said, you know what? I think you should ask Pam to do it because she had a reputation for not being engaged. So I tried to create some engagement. So that's what I did to create that community with Pam. So it's more than just socialization. I had a purpose. I knew she had potential that was untapped. I knew that she was a resource that should be utilized. I knew she was more than what she wanted to be. That coalition to succeed, I wanted to create that with her. Now, you may have picked up when we talked about coalition and community. It's all around one common goal. And that's the last piece is purpose. So we talk about purpose. And, a lot of times people think of purpose as like, well, why are we here? What's the goal that we're trying to achieve? And there can be purpose in that way. In fact, there's really 3 levels of purpose. The first level is the impact to you. It's a job. It's a paycheck. For me, I share this with Anita, it's shoes, right? So there's certain things that I like to spend my money on. So I go to work to do that. So the result is I get paid, I buy more stuff. All right. Then there can be the impact to the team or the organization. And this is where a lot of people stop because you think about camaraderie and recognition and relationships. The last one is impact to others. Here's what's interesting. There's nothing tangible. It's not clear. Think about 3 builders. So you walk up and there's 3 people working on a wall. You walk up to the first person and you say to that person, what are you doing? And he looks at you and says, well, duh, I'm building a wall. I'm putting bricks down together. I'm doing a wall. I'm getting my paycheck, going home. I go, all right, that's fine. He's doing his task. He's doing a job. That's successful. You ask the second person, what are you building? Oh, I'm building a wall, but this wall is part of the school. So I'm building a school for our community because that's what we need within our community. And you're like, well, that's wonderful. You're building a wall that's part of a building, that's part of a school, working together. That's awesome. They go to the third person and they say, what are you doing? And the third person says, I'm building enlightenment and education. I'm creating an environment where children can flourish, where they can extend beyond themselves, where they have more opportunities. Guess what? He's still building a wall, building a school, but it's something other than himself. It's not clearly measured. It's not tangible. Now, none of these are wrong. I do worry about myself. I need to make enough money to live. I need to be part of a team. I like that relationship, being part of an organization. But my purpose is much bigger. It's unacknowledged, and the results are not for me. So it's not my goals. So I can't always arrange it. So in the beginning, I opened this conversation with who I am. And I could have started with a very simple answer. I could have said, I'm a corporate trainer. I'm a training consultant. That's what I do. And the impact is I love what I do. I do. I'm passionate about it. I enjoy talking. I enjoy the creativity of it. I went to school for it. I like money. So it's what I want to do. I could have also said, I'm part of an HR development team for a large organization, part of a team. I work with clients. I help clients succeed in their goals. They say they want to achieve, employees that are trained on this topic. I can do that. I can coach somebody. I can help somebody in that way. Yes, I have the tools, resources to do that. The impact is I provide education. I help improve employee performance. I get bonuses. When I work for an organization full time, there's stability. There's opportunity to grow. The company still grows. It doesn't go out of business. So it's still there. Instead, I also think about this last one. I am an adult learning theorist, passionate about helping and inspiring adults to live fulfilled lives through their career journey. And I do this by achievement through exposure to knowledge, engagement and understanding, coaching conversations, and really focusing on how to build effective relationships at work. All 3 of these are correct. So that's what I want you to take away from today? I want you to ask yourselves those questions and each of those purposes, a purpose for you, a purpose for your team, your organization, that engagement, and then finally, that purpose for others. What are you good at? What do you like doing? What other people could be involved in that, including your team? How can I be a part of a team? How can what I bring to the table and what can others bring to the table make it successful? And then last, how does that get a result? How is that measured? So what I want you to take away from today is a commitment to action. Ask yourself those questions. And I will provide those back to Anita, and so she can put them out there for you guys to think about. But that's where you're going to get something, because to be part of a team, you have to really focus on what's my purpose bigger than myself. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Is there any questions or comments or anything that you guys would like to talk about? Feel free to come off chat. If you want to come off mute, I'm happy with that as well.
Jeni, first of all, I knew this was going to be so impactful, but I never knew it was going to be to this magnitude. It's awesome. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, we're having Sylvia saying thank you so much, Jenny. Well appreciated. So now this is our Q&A time, everyone. You know, like Jenny said, this is an interactive session. So if you want to unmute, you can unmute and share your experience. And you could also, you know, put it in the chat box. So for me, a lot of the activities or questions you asked earlier just related to my personal experience, whereas to when you put your idea out there and it's being brushed aside, you know, and I had that experience where I was leading a group and I was told it was not passive aggressive, it was like, you're a woman, you can't tell me what to do. I'm like, okay, this is the 21st century, we're doing this, all right, nice, all right. So exactly, communicating effectively, you know, maybe that's not what I would say, that's not what he wanted to say, but he just didn't know how to put it properly. But you know, this is really insightful. So again, to the group, if you would love to share your experience as to team engagement, what was bad, and you know, how you want to handle it better, this is the time. You can unmute and speak, or you could drop your questions. Again, Jenny said she'll be dropping some materials with me. I'll be sharing that in the Slack channel. The playback will also be shared in the Slack channel. Again, if you enjoyed the session with Jenny, please put like an emoji on your screen. I want to see the hearts. I want to see the smiles. I want to see the claps. Oh, Mary Jane is saying thank you, Jenny.
Thank you. You know, I'm actually, Anita, since we've got a couple minutes, I'm going to address that because I think that there's a couple of different ways to approach that, and it's going to happen in your career multiple times. And especially, it's not just being a woman, though, although being a woman does create that sometimes. Sometimes it's age. Sometimes it could be race. There could be a lot of reasons that somebody says that your voice is not valued, and it's never right, because all voices should be valued. And it's, to me, again, I don't think people had bad intentions. It's a lack of awareness. And so sometimes it's important in those situations to find an advocate, if you can, within your group. Not tattletale, not try to create an issue, but just say, hey, I really want to make sure that this is clear. I'm saying this in a way that makes sense for you. And if you need to have somebody that kind of can speak with you or even be with you to have that conversation, it's beneficial. But you're still saying it like, I understand that maybe we have a difference, a way of approaching things. So coming up from it from an empathetic way without personalizing it. Anita and I had a great conversation right before this started about part of the problem with us as empathizers. Empathizing is a great strength, but the problem is we do it all wrong. We tell everybody, even when we're kids, we say, oh, you have to have empathy. You have to put yourselves in their shoes, walk a mile in their loafers, understand it from their perspective. And the reality is, no, you don't. real empathy is just acknowledging that they feel a certain way. And so even if you don't agree with what this person said, so in that case, he basically discounted you and was, in my opinion, sexist to you. You could say to them, okay, they obviously have some sort of fear because most people react out of fear. So what are they afraid of? So let me see if I could tap into that. Now, if you just ask them, well, what are you afraid of? Then they're not going to give it to you. But if you can counteract and figure out what that fear is,
Mhm.
you can create a more respectful environment. So even saying, you know what, I understand that this is a change for you to have somebody my age or somebody of my gender or somebody of my background or some whatever it may be, monitoring you. That must be tough. Like it must be tough to switch in the gears. So I need you to work together. We're working together. It's a collaboration. I may be your manager, but I need to have that trust in each other. So there's things that need to be done. I'm expected and accountable for responsibly doing those things and making sure that they're done. How's the best way for us to make sure that they're done? Would you rather me send you an email with
Mhm.
instructions of what to do? Would you rather me talk to you one-on-one in a scheduled time instead of because it could have been where the conversation was. It could have been the context of the words of the conversation.
Yeah.
Now, sexism is sexism, and I'm not discounting it or making it okay. But the reality is sometimes we have to live within the environment that we are and have to find a way to work around it. The funny thing that we said, and I know we've only got about a minute left, but the funny thing that we said is I always tell people, you're always an actor in the play. You're always on stage, always on stage. You're never sitting in the audience of your life. So even if something bad is going on, somebody's acting badly, somebody is doing something wrong, if it's affecting you, you're on the stage somewhere. But it doesn't mean you're in center stage. Maybe you're in the background. Maybe you're a supporting cast member, but
We
you
did say
are
that.
involved somewhere. So
Yeah.
figure out what can I control? Because the only thing you can control is who you are and your action. And a lot of times people say things like that to
Mhm.
see how you'll react. And it bothers them even more if you're confident and say, that's an interesting perspective. Let me
Mhm.
think about how that's going to work.
Yeah.
So that's my little old lady advice for the day.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Okay, we have Sylvia here. She said, mine, they didn't give me the full information. And when I gave my insight, they just brushed it aside.
Yeah, Sylvia, that happens quite a bit. Remember when we talked about communication being a big piece? This is an example of somebody's withholding. Why are they not giving you the full information? Why are they not giving you access? But it's important you say, well, now that I have this information, I think I can even come up with a better answer. So
Mhm.
try an approach that like acknowledges that you didn't have all the information and not in a defensive stance. I think
Mhm.
that there's an expectation and we feel defensive internally, we feel defensive, but externally you have that choice of like saying, well, now that I have more information, I think this is going to even be better. And just
Yeah.
even even if it means that you have to have a little confidence in a different way. Take ownership of what you can control. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have the last but not least, it was said, Yara said, thank you so much, Jenny. Taking a course recently with the Mackenzie Academy, the need for communication amongst them is very important. Thank you for this impactful session.
Oh, good. I'm glad you guys. And I will tell you, thank you guys so much. The more you interact and engage with your team, the
Mhm.
more you look for it. But I do want you to think about this because we do, as women, tend to connect with people we are most like and exclude people who are not like us.
Hmm.
So I want you to really, my takeaway for you today is two. One, I'm going to send you what's my purpose. Really think about your purpose in a bigger picture. What you do as a task for yourself, what you do as part of a team, and then on your own, what you do for others that can't be measured. That's one. Number two, I mentioned it briefly, but I want you to think about it. Think about somebody at your work or in your environment, in your group that is excluded, that's not part of it. Make a conscious choice to start to engage with them. You may not see the benefit in your paycheck. You may not see the benefit in achieving a goal within a team, but you have no idea what that benefit could be beyond that relationship. That's what creating a community of engagement and team engagement. And I'm telling you, it's magical. It really, truly is when you see somebody that you engaged with flourish. Can't measure it. It's their success, but you know that you were a part of what got them there. That's why I love what I do.
Mary Jane just came in and said the issue of confidence versus pride is what some people find difficult to understand and work with. And I agree with that because I've been accused of that a lot of times. They're like, oh, you have too much pride. I'm like, no, I'm just airing like you. I'm just, talking, So as an extrovert as well.
You know what's interesting? This is something I want you to think about with that one right there. I agree, but only women see pride as a negative word. Just so you know. Just so you know. And there's a difference between confidence and arrogance. Confidence means I'm confident and I want to share my knowledge. Arrogance means I'm confident and I don't need you. And so knowing the difference and being able to say that, saying, I feel really good about this idea, but I'd like to hear your feedback. I want to know what you guys think. I want to have some engagement. That's where confidence comes in. But just so you know, there's certain words that we make bad that aren't bad.
Oh my God, thank you so much, Jeni. Everyone,
Thank you, everyone.
Jeni is on the chat section, so please follow her on LinkedIn, engage on. Thank you. So I have no words. Like from the beginning of the session to now, I have been blessed and impacted by you.
I feel very blessed and honored to be here. Thank you so much. Good luck with your careers. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Tell Jeni
Bye.
thank you. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Have a great day. Bye, Julieta. Bye,
Bye.
Sylvia. Bye, for Raquel. Oh my God, this is so awesome. Have a great weekend, everyone.
All right, Anita, I'm going to jump off. Bye.
Bye.